Jake Morrison looked out the window of his small wooden cabin and saw dark clouds rolling in fast. He had lived on this mountain for 5 years now. Far away from any city or town, the nearest neighbor was 10 miles down the road. Jake liked it that way. After working as a paramedic for 12 years in the busy city, he wanted peace and quiet. The mountain gave him exactly that. But this storm looked different from the others he had seen. The sky turned black in the middle of the afternoon. The wind started blowing so hard that the trees bent almost to the ground. Rain began to fall in thick sheets. Jake could barely see past his front porch. He had seen bad storms before, but something about this one felt wrong. The air felt heavy and strange. Jake went outside to close the wooden shutters on his windows. The wind tried to push him back and the rain soaked through his jacket in seconds. He finished with the last shutter when he heard a sound that made him freeze. It was not thunder. It was not the wind. It was a cry, deep and loud, that seemed to shake the ground under his feet. The sound came again, closer this time. Then Jake heard a huge crash from the clearing behind his cabin. Trees cracked and fell. The ground shook. Every part of his brain told him to stay inside where it was safe. But Jake had been a paramedic too long. That sound was the cry of something hurt and in pain. He could not ignore it. He grabbed his medical kit from inside the cabin. It was the big one, the kind he used to carry in the ambulance. He also took his strongest flashlight. Then he walked out into the storm toward the clearing where the crash had happened. What Jake found in the clearing made him stop and stare. His brain could not understand what his eyes were seeing. There was a dragon. A real dragon. It lay on the ground, breathing hard, with one wing bent at a bad angle. The dragon was huge, maybe 50 feet from head to tail. Its scales were beautiful colors, purple and dark blue that seemed to change when the lightning flashed. Its eyes were bright gold and they looked right at Jake. Jake should have run away. Any normal person would have. Dragons were not supposed to be real. But there it was, bleeding and hurt, and Jake was a paramedic. He had spent 12 years helping people who were injured. He could not just walk away. He moved closer slowly, keeping his hands where the dragon could see them. The dragon watched him but did not move to attack. Its breathing was fast and rough. Jake could see it was in bad pain. "Easy there," Jake said in a soft voice. He knew the dragon probably could not understand his words, but his tone might help. "I am going to help you. Just stay calm." The dragon's golden eyes stayed on Jake. Then slowly it lowered its massive head a little bit. It seemed like the dragon was giving permission. Jake moved closer and started to check the injuries. The dragon's right wing was broken badly. There were deep cuts along its side that were bleeding. The worst injury was on the dragon's shoulder. It looked infected and swollen. Jake knew he had to work fast. He opened his medical kit and took out everything he had. Strong antibiotics, pain medicine, bandages, and antiseptic. Working on a dragon was very different from working on a human. But Jake did his best. He cleaned all the wounds carefully, even though his hands were shaking. He used almost all of his antibiotic medicine on the infected shoulder. The dragon needed it. The hardest part was fixing the broken wing. Jake used pieces of wood and tape to make a splint. He worked as carefully as he could. The whole time he kept talking to the dragon in a calm voice. "You are going to be okay. Just hold still a little longer. I know it hurts, but this will help." The dragon never tried to hurt him. In fact, it seemed to help by moving its body to make Jake's work easier. The storm raged around them, but in the clearing, Jake focused only on his patient. It took almost an hour to finish. By the time he was done, Jake was exhausted and soaking wet. He had used nearly everything in his medical kit. The storm was starting to calm down. The rain was lighter now, and the wind was not as strong. The dragon looked at Jake for a long moment. Then it did something that made Jake's heart skip. The dragon lowered its head and gently touched its nose to Jake's chest, right over his heart. A warm feeling spread through Jake's body from that spot. It was not burning hot. It felt like warm sunlight on a cold day. It felt like gratitude. The dragon made a sound that was softer than before. Then it carefully spread its wings. The splint that Jake had made held firm. With a powerful jump, the dragon lifted into the air. Its wings beat hard, pushing wind down on Jake. The dragon flew up into the breaking clouds and disappeared. Jake stood alone in the clearing for a long time. The rain had almost stopped now. He looked at his empty medical kit and at the huge marks in the mud where the dragon had been. He wondered if he had imagined the whole thing. Maybe the storm had made him see things that were not real. But the evidence was right there in front of him. The broken branches, the marks in the ground, the empty medicine bottles. It had been real. All of it. Jake walked back to his cabin slowly. His mind was spinning with questions. Where had the dragon come from? Were there more dragons out there? Would anyone believe him if he told them what happened? Inside his cabin, Jake dried off and changed his clothes. His old dog, Rusty, came over and wagged his tail. Jake scratched behind the dog's ears and tried to make sense of what had just happened. He had helped a dragon. An actual dragon. In his 5 years on this mountain, that was definitely the strangest thing that had ever happened to him. Jake made himself some hot coffee and sat by the window. The storm was over now. The sky was starting to clear. Stars were coming out. Jake looked up at those stars and wondered. If dragons were real, what else was out there that he did not know about? He finished his coffee and got ready for bed. Rusty curled up on his dog bed in the corner. Jake lay down and closed his eyes, but he could not stop thinking about the dragon, about its intelligent golden eyes, about how it had trusted him to help, about that moment when it had touched his chest in thanks before flying away. Jake had no way of knowing that his simple act of kindness was about to change everything. He had no idea that the dragon he saved was important. He could not know that tomorrow, his quiet life on the mountain would be over forever. He did not know that helping one injured creature in a storm would soon put him at the center of events that would affect his entire planet. All Jake knew was that he had helped someone who needed it. That was enough for him. It was what any good person would do. See someone hurt, help them. Simple as that. He fell asleep with the image of the dragon flying away into the stars, never guessing that very soon, the dragon would return. And when it did, it would not be alone. Jake woke up to the sound of Rusty barking like crazy. The old beagle never barked that much anymore. Something was very wrong. Jake jumped out of bed and grabbed the baseball bat he kept next to his door. He looked out the window and his heart almost stopped. His front yard was full of soldiers. But they were not human soldiers. They were tall, maybe 7 feet, wearing armor that looked like it swallowed light instead of reflecting it. Their faces were visible through clear helmets. They looked almost human, but not quite. Their eyes were bigger, and their skin had a light blue color. They moved like trained military, setting up equipment around his cabin in perfect formation. Every single one of them had weapons. Before Jake could decide what to do, someone knocked on his door. It was a polite knock, calm and formal. It seemed crazy that these armed aliens would knock politely, but there it was. Jake took a deep breath and opened the door. His hand was tight on the baseball bat. The alien standing on his porch was shorter than the soldiers, maybe 6 feet tall. Her armor had silver marks on it that looked important. She took off her helmet. Her face was surprisingly human-like. Yes, her eyes were larger and her skin had that blue tint, but from far away she might pass for human. "Jake Morrison?" she asked. Her English was perfect. No accent at all. "Who wants to know?" Jake asked, holding the bat tighter. "My name is Commander Lisa Venn. I lead the Diplomatic Security Division of the Galactic Coalition's Emergency Response Fleet." She stopped, seeming to look for the right words. "We need your help." "It is urgent, the Galactic Coalition," Jake said slowly. "Right, and I guess you came here because of the weather?" Lisa's face did not change. "We came here because yesterday evening at about 6 in the evening you gave medical help to a badly injured draconian prince during a very bad storm." Jake's grip on the bat got loose. The dragon. That was a prince? Not just any prince. Crown Prince Zephyr of the Draconian Royal House. He is the oldest son of Queen Aria, ruler of the Draconian Empire. Lisa's voice became more urgent. "Mr. Morrison, the Draconians are one of the 5 species that started the Galactic Coalition. They are also one of the most powerful military forces in known space, and you saved the life of their crown prince." "Okay," Jake said slowly. "So you are here to say thank you?" Because the guns seemed like too much. "We are here because the Draconian Empire has declared you under their royal protection," Lisa said. "As of 6 this morning, this mountain, this area, and your entire planet has become a matter of important galactic politics." Jake stared at her. "You are joking. I wish I was. Mr. Morrison, Earth is not part of the Galactic Coalition. Your planet is classified as a developing world. We protect it, but do not contact it under the Non-Interference Treaty. We have been watching from far away, waiting for humanity to develop faster than light travel before making official contact. But," Jake could hear the "but" coming. But the Draconians do not care about the treaty when it comes to matters of royal honor and debt. Prince Zephyr has declared a blood debt to you. The Queen herself is coming here. To Earth to meet you in person. Lisa looked very serious. Mr. Morrison, first contact with humanity was not supposed to happen for another 50 years, and it definitely was not supposed to happen like this. Behind Lisa, the soldiers kept working. They were setting up equipment that looked far too advanced to be from any Earth military. In the distance, Jake could see more ships coming down through the sky. They were large vessels that could only be warships taking positions up in space. I just gave him some antibiotics and wrapped his wing, Jake said weakly. You saved his life, Lisa corrected him. Draconian bodies are very weak against bacterial infections. Without treatment, Prince Zephyr would have died in a few hours. You could not have known that, but it does not change what you did. She looked at him carefully. You showed kindness to an injured creature in a storm. You did not know who or what he was. You did not ask for anything in return. That is exactly the kind of character that matters in dealing with other worlds. So what happens now? Lisa looked over her shoulder at the organized chaos of her troops setting up a base in his yard. Now we prepare for the arrival of the Draconian Royal Fleet. We hope we can manage first contact without causing panic across the planet, and we pray that the other coalition races do not decide this breaks the non-interference treaty badly enough to cause problems. She looked back at Jake with something that might have been sympathy. And you, Mr. Morrison, get to be the first human to officially meet an alien species. Welcome to the galactic community. Jake looked past her at the alien soldiers, the ships in the sky, and thought about the dragon, Crown Prince Zephyr, who had touched his chest with thanks before flying away. I am going to need coffee, he said. A lot of coffee. Within 6 hours, Jake's quiet mountain cabin had become the center of what Commander Lisa Venn called an unprecedented diplomatic situation. In reality, it was barely controlled chaos. The human response came first. Military helicopters flew in circles far away, close enough to see but not close enough to make the coalition forces angry. Jake could see the white trails of fighter jets high up in the sky, flying their own patrol patterns. Lisa had managed to talk to the Pentagon, and now a U.S. military officer named Colonel Henry Blake was on site. He looked very uncomfortable being surrounded by alien soldiers who could probably destroy his entire unit with a thought. This is insane, Blake said quietly, standing next to Jake on the porch while Lisa worked with her troops. Yesterday, aliens were not real. Today, I am working on security for first contact with the Draconian Empire. Tell me about it, Jake replied. Yesterday, I was worried about having enough firewood for winter. The colonel turned to look at him. You know the president wants to talk to you? Actually, every world leader wants to talk to you. You are the most important person on the planet right now. Jake laughed, but there was no humor in it. I am a retired paramedic who lives alone on a mountain. I am not ready for this. Neither is anyone else, Blake said. But you are the one who saved an alien prince, so here we are. Lisa came over to them. Her face looked worried. Mr. Morrison, we have a problem. Several problems, actually. More than the Draconian Royal Fleet coming to a planet that does not know aliens exist? Yes. Lisa pulled up a holographic display from her wrist. Jake could see what looked like a star map with colored dots moving toward a blue dot that must be Earth. The Draconian fleet will be here in about 8 hours. That is expected. What is not expected is that the Australian Empire has also sent a diplomatic ship. And that is bad because? Colonel Blake answered before Lisa could. I have been learning about galactic politics for the last 3 hours. The Australians and Draconians have been rivals for centuries. Not quite enemies, but definitely not friends. They compete for power in the coalition, Lisa explained. If the Draconians claim Earth under their protection because of the debt owed to you, it could change the balance of power. The Australians will not want that to happen without a fight. What do they want with Earth? Jake asked, officially. To watch first contact and make sure it follows proper rules. Lisa's face made it clear she did not believe the official reason. Unofficially? To make sure the Draconians do not get an exclusive friendship with humanity. We are that important? You have no idea, Lisa said quietly. Humanity's way of thinking, your approach to solving problems, your creativity and ability to adapt, it is unique in the galaxy. Most species reach the stars slowly, carefully, following logical paths. Humans do things differently. You improvise. You innovate. You think in unexpected ways. That makes you unpredictable, which makes you valuable. She pointed to the holographic display. And then there is this. 3 other coalition member species have filed formal protests about the treaty violation. They are not sending ships, but they are demanding to watch first contact. The Coalition Council is in emergency session trying to figure out how to handle this. Jake rubbed his face, feeling tired and stressed. All because I put some antibiotics on a dragon. All because you acted with compassion toward a suffering creature, Lisa corrected. That matters, Mr. Morrison. It matters much more than you think. A soldier came over and spoke to Lisa in a language Jake could not understand. Her face went from worried to alarmed. What? Jake asked. The Draconian fleet just dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of your solar system. They are not waiting. They will be here in 4 hours, not 8. She looked at Jake. Prince Zephyr is with them. He is demanding to see you immediately when he arrives. Colonel Blake swore. We do not have time to prepare. Half the world still does not know what is happening. The president has not even talked to the nation yet. It gets worse, Lisa said, looking at her display. The Australian ship is speeding up to arrive at the same time. They are going to show up together. This is a disaster, Blake said. But Jake was remembering the dragon's eyes, the intelligence there, the gentle way it had touched his chest in gratitude. He thought about how it could have killed him easily, but instead had trusted him to help. No, Jake said quietly. Both Lisa and Blake looked at him. This is an opportunity. What do you mean, opportunity? Lisa asked, staring at Jake. Jake looked at the alien commander and then at Colonel Blake. You said humanity thinks differently than other species, that we are unpredictable and creative. So let us prove it. What are you saying? Blake asked. I am saying we stop treating this like a military operation or a diplomatic crisis. We start treating it like what it actually is. Jake smiled a little. A reunion between someone who was helped and someone who helped them. Keep it simple. Keep it human. Lisa studied him for a long moment. That is either brilliant or crazy. With humanity, it is usually both, Blake said, but he was smiling now too. What do you need, Jake? Jake looked around at the armed soldiers, the military vehicles, the alien equipment. Clear some of this out. When the prince arrives, I do not want him landing in a war zone. I want him landing where we met, in the clearing behind my cabin. He looked at Lisa. Can you do that? The security risks. He is a dragon who can probably burn anything that threatens him. I think he can handle it. Jake's voice was firm. We do this right or we do not do it at all. First impressions matter, right? So let us make it a good one. Lisa and Blake looked at each other. Finally, Lisa nodded. I will make it happen. But Mr. Morrison, Jake, you need to understand. What happens in the next few hours could decide humanity's relationship with the entire galaxy for centuries to come. No pressure then, Jake said. But as he looked up at the stars, now knowing what was out there among them, he felt strangely calm. He had made his decision in the storm based on the simplest rule he knew: help those who are hurting. He was not going to change that now, no matter how high the stakes had gotten. The dragon was coming back, and Jake was going to greet him the same way he had treated him in the first place, with honesty and compassion. Everything else would have to work itself out. The Draconian royal fleet appeared in Earth's sky like a sunrise made of metal and starlight. 3 huge warships, each easily 2 miles long, took positions high in orbit. Smaller ships, sleek and dangerous-looking, formed a protective screen around them, and coming down through the air, trailing light like a falling star, came a ship that could only be described as magnificent. It was smaller than the warships, but no less impressive. Its outer surface was decorated with what looked like precious metals worked into detailed patterns. It moved with a grace that seemed impossible for something so large. Slowing as it got close to the mountain, Jake stood in the clearing behind his cabin, the same clearing where he had treated the injured dragon less than 24 hours ago. Lisa and her security team had pulled back to the edge as he had asked, though he knew they had weapons aimed at the landing site. Colonel Blake and a small group of U.S. military people watched from near the cabin, their faces showing both fear and wonder. And arriving at the same time, coming from the opposite direction, was the Australian diplomatic ship. It was all sharp angles and shining silver, very different from the flowing elegance of the Draconian ship. The 2 vessels circled each other once like a dance of barely hidden rivalry. before both settled into landing positions on opposite sides of the clearing. Jake found himself standing alone in the middle, between two alien spacecraft that represented civilizations that could probably end Earth's existence without even trying hard. His heart was beating fast in his chest, but he kept his face calm and his hands at his sides, open and non-threatening. The draconian ship's ramp came down first, and Jake's breath caught. Prince Zephyr came out in his true form, the same magnificent dragon Jake had treated in the storm. His scales gleamed in the morning light, the violet and blue colors shifting with each movement. The splint Jake had made was gone, but he could see careful bandaging on the wing, professional work that showed someone had improved his emergency treatment. The wounds on the dragon's side were healing, the skin new and pink beneath the gaps in the scales. Behind him came another dragon, even larger, with scales that shifted between deep red and gold. The crown on her head was simple but clear. Queen Aria, Jake realized. The ruler of the Draconian Empire had come in person. From the Australian ship came a group of beings that looked almost human. They were tall and thin with silver skin that seemed to catch and reflect light. Their leader, wearing robes that marked him as high-ranking, stepped forward with careful precision. For a moment, no one moved. The three groups, human, Draconian, and Australian, stood in the clearing, and the weight of the moment pressed down on all of them. This was it. First contact. The moment that would be remembered in history books for as long as humanity existed. Jake did what came naturally. He walked toward the Dragon Prince. "Hey there, big guy," he said, his voice carrying clearly in the quiet morning air. "Looks like you are healing up pretty well." Prince Zephyr's huge head lowered, and those golden eyes fixed on Jake with clear warmth. The dragon made a sound, a deep rumble that Jake somehow understood as a pleased greeting. Then Zephyr did something that made everyone watching gasp. He shifted. The massive dragon form shimmered and got smaller, and suddenly standing before Jake was a young man who looked to be in his mid-20s. He had the same golden eyes, and his skin kept a faint violet shimmer, but he was human-shaped, roughly Jake's height. He wore simple clothing that somehow looked both casual and royal. "Jake Morrison," Zephyr said, and his voice was warm, touched with an accent Jake could not place. "I owe you my life. How does one repay such a debt?" Jake smiled. "You do not owe me anything. You were hurt, I helped. That is what decent people do. Nevertheless, the debt exists." Zephyr gestured, and the larger dragon behind him also shifted, becoming a woman who radiated power and grace. "My mother, Queen Aria, wished to meet you personally. We have traveled far to honor the one who saved our heir." Queen Aria stepped forward, her eyes studying Jake with an intensity that was both intimidating and strangely kind. "You asked for nothing, expected nothing, and yet you gave everything you had to save a creature you had never seen before, in the middle of a storm that threatened your own safety." She bowed her head, a gesture of deep respect. "Such honor is rare in the galaxy, Jake Morrison. The Draconian Empire names you friend and ally. You and your people will always have our protection." Before Jake could respond, the Australian diplomat stepped forward. "A beautiful sentiment, Your Majesty. But first contact with the developing world is governed by coalition law, not by personal debts." The temperature in the clearing seemed to drop several degrees. Queen Aria turned her gaze on the Australian, and Jake saw the dragon beneath the human-shaped form, ancient and powerful. "Ambassador Kyle," she said, her voice polite, but edged with steel. "How unexpected to see an Australian ship at a Draconian blood debt ceremony." "The Coalition has an interest in making sure first contact rules are followed," Ambassador Kale replied smoothly. "Surely Your Majesty agrees that the non-interference treaty must be upheld." "The treaty was already broken the moment my son crashed on this world," Queen Aria said. "What happens now is just consequence." Jake watched the two alien leaders face off and realized this was the moment where things could go very wrong. The Draconians would not back down from what they saw as a matter of honor. The Australians would not allow the Draconians to claim Earth without a fight. And Earth, his planet, was about to become a political football between two galactic powers, unless someone did something unpredictable. "Excuse me," Jake said loudly. Both aliens turned to look at him. "I have a question." "Of course," Queen Aria said. "This non-interference treaty, does it say you cannot make contact with us? Or does it say we cannot join your coalition until we develop certain technology?" Ambassador Kale blinked. The treaty says that developing worlds must reach faster than light travel before being contacted or invited to join the coalition. Right, so you cannot officially recruit us or whatever. Jake looked between them. But it does not say we cannot know you exist, does it? It does not say we cannot be friends. The spirit of the treaty, Cale began. I am not a lawyer, but I understand spirit versus letter pretty well. Jake interrupted. The treaty exists to protect developing worlds from being exploited or overwhelmed by more advanced civilizations, right? To let us grow at our own pace without interference. Correct, Queen Arya said, her eyes showing interest. Then here is my thought. You, the Draconians, do not owe us anything except what you want to give freely as friends. No technology transfers, no military alliances, nothing that would interfere with our development. He looked at Cale. And you, the Astranians, along with anyone else in your coalition, are welcome to establish the same kind of friendship. No exclusive deals, no playing favorites, no interference. You are suggesting an informal relationship outside the treaty framework, Kyle said slowly. I am suggesting we do what I did with the prince. Help when we can, ask for nothing in return, and let friendships develop naturally. Jake smiled. We have a lot to learn about the galaxy. You probably have things you could learn from us too. So why not just start talking to each other? No treaties, no obligations, just open doors. Prince Zephyr laughed, a sound of pure delight. Mother, I told you he was remarkable. Queen Arya was smiling now, really smiling. You propose to solve a centuries-old diplomatic framework with simple friendship. Is there a better way? Jake asked. Ambassador Cale studied Jake for a long moment, then looked at Queen Arya. Your Majesty, I believe I may have underestimated this species. Most do, the Queen replied. Which is precisely why they are so valuable. She looked at Jake. Your proposal has merit, Jake Morrison. The Draconian Empire accepts these terms. We offer our friendship to humanity, freely given with no obligations or expectations beyond mutual respect. The Astranian Empire will also accept, Kyle said after a pause, and I suspect the Coalition Council will find this solution creative. That is humanity for you, Lisa said, walking over to the group. We specialize in creative solutions. Queen Arya looked past Jake to where Colonel Blake and his troop stood, to the cabin on the mountain, to the wider world beyond. Then let this be the beginning, not of conquest or alliance, but of friendship between the stars. She looked back at Jake. And let it be known that it started because one human showed kindness in a storm, expecting nothing in return. She stepped forward and placed her hand over Jake's heart, the same gesture Prince Zephyr had made in his dragon form. The debt is paid, Jake Morrison, but the friendship will last far longer. The next few hours were a blur of activity. News helicopters appeared in the distance, kept back by both coalition and human military forces. The President of the United States called Jake's phone directly. Jake found himself talking to the most powerful person in his country while standing next to alien royalty. It felt surreal. Mr. Morrison, the whole world is watching right now, the President said. You have handled this situation with remarkable wisdom. I want you to know that you have the full support of the United States government. Thank you, Mr. President, Jake said, still not quite believing this was happening. I just tried to do what seemed right. Sometimes that is all we can do, the President replied. Keep doing exactly that. By late afternoon, a basic framework had been agreed upon. The coalition would establish 3 embassy ships in Earth's orbit. They would be neutral ground where humans could meet and interact with various alien species. No advanced technology would be given to Earth. That was important. Humanity had to develop at its own pace, but information could be shared. Ideas could be exchanged. Friendships could form. It was decided that Jake would act as an informal liaison, at least in the beginning. He was not an official ambassador. He had no training in diplomacy, but he was the bridge between worlds. He was the human who had shown kindness to an alien prince, and that mattered more than any political title. As the sun started to set, Queen Arya prepared to return to her ship. She had meetings to attend, a galaxy to help govern, but before she left, she spoke to Jake one more time. You have given us a great gift, Jake Morrison. Not just the life of my son, but a new way forward. The Coalition has operated the same way for thousands of years. Your idea of simple friendship without obligation, it is revolutionary. I just thought it made sense, Jake said. That is what makes it remarkable, Queen Arya replied. You see complex problems and find simple solutions. That is a rare gift. She looked at him seriously. But you should know not everyone will be happy with this arrangement. There are those in the coalition who believe developing worlds should remain isolated completely. There are others who believe they should be brought into the coalition immediately. Willing or not, we have made enemies today by choosing a middle path. Are we in danger? Jake asked. Not from the coalition itself. The council has accepted this solution, but there are always those who operate outside official channels. She placed her hand on his shoulder. The Draconian Empire will protect Earth. That protection is real and binding. But you should be careful, Jake Morrison. You have become important to galactic politics. That makes you a target. I will keep that in mind, Jake said, feeling a chill run down his spine. Queen Arya smiled. Do not let fear stop you from being who you are. It is your humanity that makes you valuable. Never lose that. She shifted back into her dragon form, massive and beautiful. With a powerful leap, she took to the sky, joining the ships that waited in orbit. Prince Zephyr stayed behind. He walked with Jake back to the cabin as the sun set and the stars came out. Your mother seems worried, Jake said. She is, Zephyr admitted. There are factions within the coalition that do not like change. They have operated under the same rules for millennia. You have disrupted that. Some will see it as progress. Others will see it as a threat. Great, Jake said. So I have made us intergalactic enemies. You have made friends too, Zephyr said. My people, for one. The Australians, surprisingly. Several other species have already expressed interest in this new friendship model. You have started something, Jake, something good. They reached the cabin. Rusty came out and barked at Zephyr, then seemed to decide the Dragon Prince was acceptable and wagged his tail instead. Zephyr laughed and knelt down to pet the dog. I like your world, Zephyr said. It is beautiful. Raw and wild in ways that most civilized worlds have forgotten. It has its moments, Jake agreed. He sat down on the porch steps. Zephyr joined him. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, looking at the stars. What happens now? Jake asked. Now? Now we build bridges. Coalition scientists will want to exchange ideas with human scientists. Artists will want to share their work. Philosophers will have debates that cross species barriers. Zephyr smiled. It will be messy and complicated. There will be misunderstandings, cultural clashes, but that is how real friendships form, through working through difficulties together. And you? Jake asked. What will you do? I will split my time between your world and mine. I am still Crown Prince. I have duties, but I also have a blood debt and a friendship to honor. Zephyr looked at Jake. You saved my life, Jake. That is not something my people forget. Ever. I will be here often. Probably too often. You might get tired of me, Jake laughed. I doubt that. Though I have to admit my quiet life on this mountain is definitely over. Do you regret it? Zephyr asked seriously. If you could go back, would you still help me in that storm? Jake did not even have to think about it. Yes, every time. You needed help. That is all that mattered. That is why you are remarkable, Zephyr said. That simple answer. That immediate certainty. Most beings would calculate the cost and benefit. You just help because it is right. Lisa approached them, her armor still on but her helmet removed. Mr. Morrison, Jake, we need to discuss security arrangements. Now that this is official, you need protection. From what? Jake asked. From anyone who might want to use you as leverage. From reporters who will want to interview you constantly. From people who might not agree with how first contact happened. Lisa sat down on the step below them. You are the most famous human in the galaxy right now. That comes with risks. I just want to go back to my normal life, Jake said. That life is gone, Lisa said gently. I am sorry, but it is true. Everything has changed. You can try to adapt to it, or it will overwhelm you. I suggest adapting. Jake looked at his cabin, at Rusty sleeping on the porch at the mountain he had called home for 5 years. She was right. Everything had changed. The quiet peace he had found here was gone. But maybe that was okay. Maybe it was time for something new. What do you suggest? He asked Lisa. Keep your cabin. This place is special. It is where first contact happened. It is where you saved Prince Zephyr. But accept that you need security. Let us set up a proper perimeter. Get used to the idea that you will be traveling, meeting people, both human and alien. You are a bridge between worlds now, Jake. That is not a small responsibility. I am not trained for this, Jake protested. Nobody is, Zephyr said. We are all making this up as we go. But you have something that cannot be trained. You have genuine compassion and the courage to act on it. That is more valuable than any diplomatic training. Colonel Blake came out of the cabin with 3 cups of coffee. He handed them to Jake, Lisa, and Zephyr. The prince looked at the coffee with curiosity, sniffed it, then took a careful sip. "This is good," Zephyr said, surprised. "Bitter, but good." "Welcome to Earth," Blake said with a grin. "Coffee is our most important contribution to galactic civilization." They all laughed, and for a moment it felt normal. Just 4 people sitting on a porch, drinking coffee, watching the stars. The fact that one of them was an alien prince seemed almost beside the point. "You know what I think?" Jake said. "I think we are going to figure this out. It will not be perfect. We will make mistakes, but we will figure it out together." "That is the human spirit right there," Lisa said. "Optimism in the face of the impossible." "It has worked for us so far," Blake added. Zephyr raised his coffee cup. "To friendship across the stars, may it be as strong as the human who started it." They clinked their cups together, human and alien, military and civilian, under a sky that was no longer as distant as it once seemed. The future was uncertain. There would be challenges ahead, dangers they could not yet imagine. But in that moment, sitting on a porch on a mountain on Earth, anything seemed possible. The dragon had come in a storm. Jake had helped him. And in doing so, he had changed the course of human history. 3 months had passed since the storm that changed everything. Jake stood on the observation deck of the Coalition embassy ship, looking down at Earth from space. It still felt surreal, even after everything that had happened. The world had changed in ways both small and large. The existence of aliens was now public knowledge. Most of humanity had accepted it with surprising grace. There had been panic, certainly. Protests in some cities. 1,000 conspiracy theories that turned out to be both right and wrong. But overall, humanity had adapted. That was what humans did best. Face the impossible and then just keep moving forward. The Coalition had kept their promise. 3 large embassy ships floated in Earth's orbit, neutral ground where humans and aliens could meet. No advanced technology was given to Earth. That was critical. Humanity had to develop at its own pace in its own way. But information flowed freely. Human scientists talked with alien researchers about physics and mathematics. Artists shared their work across species. Philosophers debated the nature of reality with beings who saw the universe in completely different ways. It was messy. It was complicated. Sometimes cultural misunderstandings caused problems, but it was also the beginning of something beautiful. Quite a view, is it not? Prince Zephyr said, joining Jake at the window. The prince still preferred his human shape when dealing with people, though Jake had seen him in dragon form many times. Zephyr loved to fly in space, calling it the pure joy of movement. "I never thought I would see Earth from space," Jake admitted. "Never thought I would see a lot of things that have happened lately." "You changed the galaxy," Zephyr said simply. "That solution you proposed, friendship without obligation, it is catching on. 3 other developing worlds have been approached using the same framework. The Coalition Council is considering making it official policy." "That seems like a lot of impact for one retired paramedic," Jake said. "You keep saying that, but you are more than that now." Zephyr grinned. "Though I know you hate when people call you Ambassador Morrison," Jake groaned. "I keep telling everyone I am not ambassador material. I just want to go back to my cabin. You will eventually, but right now, humanity needs someone who understands both worlds, someone who can bridge the gap between human thinking and galactic civilization." Zephyr's expression became more serious. "You saved my life, Jake. But more than that, you showed all of us what humanity could bring to the galaxy. Compassion without calculation. Help without expectation of reward. It is rarer than you think." Lisa then walked over to them, followed by Colonel Blake. Blake had been appointed as the U.S. military liaison to the Coalition. Both had become good friends with Jake over the past months, united by the shared experience of living through first contact. "We have a situation," Lisa said without introduction, "but possibly a good one." "Define possibly good," Jake said. Blake pulled up a holographic display. "Remember how we talked about humanity's unique approach to problem solving? Well, a Coalition research station has been dealing with a physics problem for about 30 years. Something about quantum field harmonics. A group of human physicists were given access to the data last week," Lisa continued. "They just solved it. Took them 6 days to figure out something that had stumped Coalition scientists for 3 decades. How?" Jake asked, amazed. They approached it completely differently, Lisa said, smiling. Instead of following the established mathematical framework, they used jazz music theory and old philosophy about how things change. It should not have worked, but it did, Zephyr laughed. This is exactly what I mean. You are all beautifully, wonderfully creative in ways others are not. The Coalition Council wants to establish a formal research exchange program, Blake said. Human scientists would work with alien researchers on various projects. Nothing that would push our technology too far ahead too fast, but working together on theoretical problems. That is good, right? Jake asked. It is very good, Lisa confirmed. It is exactly the kind of mutual benefit that makes your friendship framework work. We help them see problems from new angles. They help us understand the bigger picture of galactic science. Jake looked back at Earth spinning slowly below them. Somewhere down there, humanity was taking its first real steps into a larger universe, not as conquerors or servants, but as friends and equals, despite being the newest members of the galactic community. My mother wants you to visit the draconian homeworld, Zephyr said. Several other Coalition species have also sent invitations. You are quite popular, you know. I am really not comfortable with being famous, Jake muttered. Get used to it, Blake said, grinning. You are the man who saved an alien prince and changed First Contact forever. They are making movies about you already. Please tell me you are joking. 3 of them, actually. None are very accurate, but they are entertaining. Jake rubbed his face, feeling overwhelmed. Just 3 months ago, his biggest worry was having enough firewood for winter. Now he was discussing interstellar politics and movie deals. Can I ask you something? Jake said to Zephyr. That night in the storm, did you know I would help you? Is that why you landed near my cabin? Honestly, I was dying and desperate. I saw the light from your cabin and hoped whoever lived there might have compassion for a suffering creature. Zephyr smiled. I got lucky. The right human at the right time. Fate has a sense of humor, Lisa said. Or humanity is just consistently surprising, Zephyr countered. I prefer to think it is the latter. A soft alarm sounded and Lisa checked her device. The transport shuttle is ready to take you back to Earth, Jake, unless you want to stay up here longer. Jake took one last look at Earth from space, at the blue planet that held everything he had ever known. He smiled. Somewhere down there his cabin waited. Rusty was probably wondering where his owner had gone now. Jake would spend a few days back home enjoying the quiet, before his next meeting or trip or whatever this new life brought him. I am ready, he said. Let us go home. As they walked toward the shuttle bay, Zephyr fell into step beside him. You know, there is a draconian saying. The storm that destroys the weak tree makes the strong tree stronger. You were the strong tree, Jake. You stood in the storm and helped someone in need, and because of that, your whole world is stronger now. I was just doing what anyone should do, Jake said. That is what makes it remarkable, Zephyr replied. You think it is ordinary, but trust me, across the galaxy what you did is extraordinary. The shuttle ride back to Earth was smooth. Soon Jake was in a military helicopter heading toward his mountain. As they flew over the familiar landscape, he could see the changes. New roads had been built to handle increased traffic. The valley below his cabin now had a small Coalition outpost, carefully designed to blend with the environment. But the mountain itself remained unchanged. His cabin still stood remote and peaceful. As the helicopter landed in the clearing, the same clearing where everything had started, Jake felt like he was coming full circle. Rusty ran out of the cabin where Blake's team had been caring for him. The old beagle barked joyfully and danced around Jake's feet. Jake knelt down and scratched the dog's ears, feeling more grounded than he had in weeks. Good boy, he said softly. Yes, I am home. I know I was gone too long. That night, Jake sat on his porch looking up at the stars. They did not look different, but knowing what was out there among them changed everything. Somewhere up there, Zephyr was probably flying in his dragon form, enjoying the freedom of space. Queen Aria was ruling an empire that spanned multiple star systems. Lisa was coordinating security for dozens of ongoing diplomatic projects. Blake was probably still awake, dealing with some new crisis or opportunity, and Jake was exactly where he had started, on his mountain with his dog, looking at the stars, except nothing was the same at all. His phone buzzed with a message from Zephyr. Thinking about going flying tomorrow morning. Want to join me? We have a shuttle that can keep up with dragon flight mostly. Jake smiled and typed back. Sounds good, but I am bringing coffee. Deal. See you at dawn, my friend. That is what they were now. Human and dragon, earthling and alien. It had started with a simple act of kindness in a storm. One person helping another because it was the right thing to do. No grand plan, no political calculation, just basic human decency. And somehow that had been enough to change everything. Jake leaned back in his chair. Rusty settled at his feet. He looked up at the stars that were no longer quite so distant. Somewhere out there was an entire galaxy waiting to be discovered, full of wonders and dangers and opportunities beyond imagination. But that could wait until tomorrow. Tonight he was content to sit on his porch, on his mountain, on his planet, and simply be grateful for the storm that had brought a dragon to his door and changed the fate of humanity forever. The story was not over. In many ways, it was just beginning. But for Jake Morrison, retired paramedic and bridge between worlds, that was fine. He had always preferred to take life one day at a time anyway. And tomorrow he was going flying with a dragon prince. Life did not get much better than that. Humanity had reached for the stars and found friends among them. Not through conquest or superior technology, but through simple kindness and the willingness to help someone in need. It was the most human thing possible.